Communities in Northern Manitoba are working to reconnect with and strengthen their local food systems and economies. Faced with high food costs and health issues related to poor diets, communities are taking action by growing vegetables, raising livestock, and harvesting wild foods. And they're educating young people, digging deep into ancestral roots and reigniting traditional skills. Whether it's fish or fowl or carrots or beans, these communities are rebuilding programs and traditions for sharing and selling food.
We're potato eaters here. We love our potatoes. It goes back to our history. Our people grew them from way back.
This is why people love potatoes. Look at these things. They're beautiful.
Cucumbers cut up with onions and you put vinegar on them. It's all fresh from the garden.
So I'd say the favorite vegetable I picked here this year were the green beans, and they tasted really good with the new potatoes out of the garden.
Personally, I like chicken breasts that are boiled in tomato juice.
I think my favorite vegetable is carrot, glazed with a little bit of honey and butter and with parsley.
One story, when we came and picked vegetables here one evening, driving home, the kids started fighting in the back seat. I turn around and they're fighting over the peas. What kind of kids fight over peas? It just shows a big difference of what the kids can start enjoying if they're given the opportunity to.
Can we call ourselves a nation without food security? We can't. There's no such thing as a nation without food security. So we need to do this. We need to start producing our own food. You can give a man a fish and he'll eat for one day. But if you teach him to fish, he'll eat for the rest of his life. And I think that's the same thing with our gardening project.
It gives us back, some of our dignity that we lost, And it also enhances our health, program like this, being able to access the wild food that we're accustomed to, That helps a great deal.
I think one of the most important things in the world is that people have good, healthy food and they have access to it. Really, it's the basis for building good community. Access to healthy food here, it is a problem in that it may not be as expensive as a lot of places, but most people aren't making very much money, or they're on income assistance or something like that. So the amount of money that they have coming in versus the amount of money they have to purchase food, it's not balanced.
We do have our problems, and like a lot of First Nations, we also have people with diabetes. And there's, of course, a lot of other sicknesses that go along with this. And the whole picture of health in our communities has to do with eating healthy.
It seems a lot of our elders are getting diabetes from processed foods, soft drinks, sugar.
In a Pasquayak Cree Nation, nearly 40 families work together learning to plant and tend a garden and how to process garden foods. People plan to expand the garden so more families can participate, and to build a summer kitchen and clay oven beside the main garden.
If the kids aren't being exposed to the foods, they're not going to eat it. If you think of their lunches or their snacks that they bring to school, it's a lot of processed things that you can just grab out of the fridge and throw in a little lunch bag and it's ready to go. And a lot of it is chocolate or chips. Whereas, is it not just as easy to grab an apple out of the fridge or, grapes and wash them? It's just as easy, but that's what I see a lot of. They're not being exposed to these healthy foods, even sometimes carrots or celery, because parents aren't buying it, because they don't like it. But if we start exposing the kids to the vegetables at school or around the community, and they start liking it, they'll ask their parents to bring it home and to cook it and to try it.
I always talked about the things that would reduce their sugar levels so that would help with diabetes. Things like Swiss chard and spinach, and we started having meetings every other week and talking about the different vegetables that people would like to plant, and people were excited about a whole variety of vegetables. But that was a very different story when we got into the garden. No one knew how to plant the vegetables and cook them. So that was part of the training too, is just showing people how to do basic things about cooking as well.
You can't YouTube everything because lots of it is, in the south. We need stuff that's going to work here in the north. And so when Peggy and some of the community members were talking about gardening, and when you know nothing about gardening and want to learn to try teach the future kids, this is the best way to get in here. Because the books aren't going to teach us that. If I don't even know how to eat spinach, how am I going to get the kids to do it and to grow it? The best way to do it is to get out here and do it yourself before you can teach the kids.
The Leaf Rapids horticultural program grows food and helps youth grow in knowledge and employment. There's a seed bank, testing of plants for northern hardiness, and demonstration sites showing many growing techniques.
We are in the Churchill River Nursery in Leaf Rapids, Manitoba. This was an abandoned trailer park, and the youth came down to start cleaning up the trailer park and tilling up land and ripping out weeds and planting vegetables and that sort of thing.
You're looking at the 56th parallel. It's the northern part of the boreal forest, so what we can grow here can grow pretty much anywhere in the boreal forest globally. We have turnips still over there. We have chrysanthemums, which we use for trying to make different types of sprays for insects. We really do well with bok choy. I have over probably 30 varieties of bok choy that I grow. It's hard to kill them, just like look at that romaine lettuce. A lot of our plants actually adapt to the cold. This is sage. It's still growing. We had days it was 6 below in the morning, right? And it's lived.
Probably our biggest obstacle right now is the soil fertility. It's very sandy and it doesn't hold a lot of nutrients. That's my main concern right now. Aside from expanding the area, is the soil fertility.
It's one of the foundations of growing in the north. If you don't have great soil, you will have problems in growing. We have clay, peat moss, sand, and organics that are on the earth. We look at the forest and the cycle of life, and the leaves fall to the ground and they feed the tree, and each season the fall and decayed material help the forest to grow. All of our areas have a tremendous amount of ancient peat moss, so if you have the tools and ability, we try to harvest and use peat moss within our garden beds and that.
The people of Opipaniwan Cree Nation have created a wild harvesting program that educates young people, supports the livelihoods of fishers and hunters, and revitalizes culture and connections to the land. It creates regular availability of healthy foods to the community members who need support. More than 200 local people are involved in this program each month.
Every Thursday of the month, we distribute wild foodstuffs to the elders and vegetables whenever we have them. Fish or moose meat and potatoes and whatever we have grown in our gardens. Apples. There's some onions here too, if you want to cook with those. After we get our foods, whether it's moose meat or wild fowl like ducks and geese and fish, we either try and get a volunteer with a vehicle to go and deliver to the ones that can't walk here to pick up their foods, And it's mostly your elders and your people with health issues, or if they're disabled and they can't walk and they're incapacitated in that form. People weren't getting the proper diet that they were accustomed to, and they noticed that there was an increase in diabetes. For now, we have a bag of pickerel fillets, and then we have this type of fish also, white fish. You have bake this or roast it, or you can even smoke that one as well. And then we have various fish parts that we also keep and distribute. One of the local favorites, this is a, we call it sucker, And then we have a moose nose. It still has to be singed, burn off all the hair on it, and then they could cook it after that.
We've noticed a lot of diabetics are healthier. Their sugars drop. Like for myself, I'll never say no when they say, come do this. I'm always here. Or I come and check. Anything come in? Ready to go. I learned basically from my grandparents, the elders, how I seen them prepare the wild food. So when I started handling myself, I was like learning as well and learning as I go along. So I'm still excited about it. I'm here almost every day, help when I can, and most of my time I volunteer.
Sheridan Cold Lake is a tiny post-mining community in the northern Manitoba boreal forest. In response to the challenges of buying healthy, affordable foods, the community has started a number of local food projects like raising chickens.
We just decided we wanted to try raising chickens as a project to try and help feed the community. Anybody that lives in a northern community knows now that it's very expensive to get out of the community to get groceries, and we have a lot of elders, and it's just something that we wanted to try and maybe make things a little easier on people when it comes to natural and good food. The younger kids have a bigger problem that they start naming them or talking to them all the time, and then they don't want to have anything to do with the processing end of it. All they want to do is feed them and talk to them.
Sure? I'm sure. Yay, I get to come in here. Hi, chickens. Their feathers are so nice and furry.
You just talk to them like you would with neighbors' kids. Hey, what are you guys doing? You know, maybe move out of the way a little bit, or just lightly bump them. You just kind of move through them as slow as you can. You got to be patient with them. Challenging part about raising chickens would be getting help to do it. When it comes to cleaning, comes to feeding, comes to putting the building up, you have to think ahead when you go to try a project like this. It takes a half a dozen people to get into it and really help out. If you don't have community involvement, you're going to have a little work ahead of you by yourself. I like the idea of having them because I know what they've eaten, I know how they've been looked after, I know how they've been processed. I've never been a person that really liked buying stuff off a shelf out of a big store. I feel better knowing that I raised them myself. It's good food.
Peguis First Nation has a rich history of agriculture, and community members are reawakening those food traditions. There's a 7-acre farm, and food is shared within the community and sometimes sold at local markets.
Peguis is a large reserve. We've been here over 100 years now, and we were an agricultural people also. For the last 4 or 5 years now, we've been, I guess, trying to bring back use of land, getting our people back on the land. And some people don't realize what potential we have in raising a lot of our own food. By doing this, having a community garden, I think this is really promoting it.
I came with my mom to come and help in the community garden, come get some fresh veggies.
We are situated in our community garden, which is the center of our community. They plant and they come back and they help us harvest what we've planted, and it's been really interesting and something that's bringing back that tradition to our community.
To me, it's part of our heritage and culture to grow things, take things off the land, gathering, and so we want to promote that again. And this idea of having a community garden is just one small part of it.
That's what our people did, was they lived off the land, and I think that we're just continuing it with what was taught to us in the past.
Oh,